Ladies and gentlemen, please, there is no need for panic.
Alright, not panicking. Oh, that's a Nevermore! Oh, panic! That's panic! Oh, so much panicking! Hello! You guys living in? I really want to come in! Hello!
Yet we, the citizens, are left in the dark. So I ask you, when the first shots are fired...
We gotta do this fast! We promised these guys gummy bears. Gummy bears! G'day guys, thank you for joining us again after perhaps watching our reaction, which got a little more, I suppose, views than we thought we'd get. It was really just an impromptu thing, but we're so glad that so many of you enjoyed it, and a lot of people who aren't subscribed to us came and watched our reactions, which are apparently worth watching. So, just to preempt any questions around that, whether we're going to do any more in the future, we like to think that most of what we do is about the Lord Grimm theory, and, well, seeing how the series progresses affects the Lord Grimm theory. So we don't want reactions to become a thing or to overtake that. But we're thinking about, like, in future episodes, we might decide whether we record our reactions and see whether they're really even worth watching, and we'll decide then what we're going to do with that. But we just put that out there. Anyway, big episode. And as you saw from us, our reaction, our initial reactions were pretty... well, a shock is the only way to put it, really. Like, I think you might have noticed if you watched the video that half the time my jaw was just drooped in absolute shock of what was happening. But it was so great. Like, we had said for, I think, a couple of weeks that Penny was going to die in this episode, although we had thought that Pyrrha was going to get severely wounded, but that didn't happen. But there's other stuff going on with Pyrrha, so she's not exactly out of danger at the moment.
And physical harm, mental harm.
Emotional harm.
Emotional harm.
There's a lot going on with her. She didn't exactly leave it unscathed.
Yes.
Anyway, so let's get into the episode's events. First thing, I did say that it may not have been Mercury during the reaction video, but that was just me doubting myself at the last minute and didn't want to appear an idiot if it turned out it wasn't him. But my initial judgment was it couldn't have been Emerald because she was in another part of the arena, and the idea of her getting to RWBY that fast and casting an illusion didn't seem likely, which panned out, and it wasn't Neo either. So I just want to clarify that I did think it was Mercury. Wink.
Well, obviously, when...
obvious.
Yeah, well, she hit a physical object. Illusion, you would go straight through an illusion.
That's right, yeah.
And also, we can guarantee that also by the fact that when Mercury shot RWBY's phone device, it actually went back without her moving her arm. So there's no way she could... A physical object that isn't herself could move without her moving it. So he's real.
Subsequent events proved without a doubt that that was definitely Mercury. But at first, it's sort of leading us on with the whole fact that RWBY was trying to talk to him and he wasn't saying anything back.
He was
so
pantomiming, basically.
Yeah.
Left and right.
It made me doubt for a second whether it was really him or not. But anyway, I think we can say safely that was definitely Mercury. Also, one thing I thought was a bit silly was that RWBY didn't have Crescent Rose on her. Although, there was some explanation of that you had.
Well, it's, you know, it's a sanctioned fight, and it's a secure area, so there'll be no need for non-combatants to carry weapons.
And I suppose they made it a condition of security to do weapons checks or whatever. But it put RWBY in a bit of a difficult place, didn't it?
Yeah.
And, like, you were saying, like, even during the reaction, like, get away from Mercury.
Yeah, run back.
Yeah. But her speed, even at that speed she had, he was able to intercept her mid-air. Like, I keep thinking so little of Mercury half the time, and then he just ups the ante. Like, he's just something else.
Even Pyrrha couldn't combat a RWBY speed. Yeah,
it was just crazy. But apparently there's a lot more to Mercury that he keeps showing us to keep surprising us. It's just really annoying.
Looks like he was trained by a good fellow.
A good fellow who probably died at his hands.
Probably. Maybe.
I love you. me, Dad.
That's what I want to do to my dad.
Harsh. Anyway, doesn't mean
Take
that.
over the family business, I mean. Take over the family business.
Of course. Yeah, totally what he meant. Also, Pyrrha's semblance going crazy. Now, we are of a difference of opinion here. I believe that Pyrrha's semblance is going crazy as part of something that Sneaky Dexter commented in our reaction video and elsewhere, I think, as well. About maybe a part of falling to the darkness is when you let, I don't know, your emotions get so bottled up or they become so extreme that they start affecting your aura and affects how your semblance works, and it manifests in that way. Because in the episode, Emerald's signature illusion sound, the shh, the whoosh sound, didn't happen until after Pyrrha looked at her weapons and they seemed to distort a bit. So it does seem to say that there's something else going on internally, whether that's just demonstrating her current mental status, or whether that means something towards what, like, the process of falling to the darkness. Maybe there's actually some sort of physical or mental effect that has on you, which might explain people like Cinder being so sadistic. She's way too confident for such an evil person, maybe, is my way of thinking. I don't know. But anyway, there's that possibility. Or it's just, a easy explanation of that's just Pyrrha freaking out at the moment. So there is that. You didn't have anything to add on that?
No. It's just simple that she was freaking out. Because you could see in the pre-battle, she was looking at her hands like she was like questioning what she was
especially
doing.
Given the altercation with Jean. That's clearly unintentional.
Yeah.
So something else is going on there. Emerald did then put in her illusion and made it appear that Penny somehow summoned thousands of swords which were about to kill Pyrrha, and then she released a polarity wave. Now, one of the things you'd probably notice as you rewatch the scene is that the polarity wave, affected one of the swords as they were being thrown back. I think, but just before the polarity wave.
Yep.
And then when the polarity wave actually did hit Penny, it actually affected Penny as a whole. So there's a lot of those questions, like we brought up in a previous video, and other people have brought up about how Penny's nature conflicts with the whole polarity semblance, and that it might have real adverse effects on her nature, which might have disabled her aura. May have been one of the reasons why she was killed so easily. Either that, or because the swords are connected to Penny through strings and all that they exist within her aura barrier, and that's how they killed her when that happened. So either way, there's an explanation as to why the horrific circumstance came about. But yeah, let's just get down to Penny's dead.
Well,
that's
just
so
before
shocking.
Before that, when she was hit by the polarity, she was clutching her heart like you would if you were having a heart attack.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, actually, that's absolutely true. And it almost felt as if she just lost control of herself, like she could not move. Maybe like at that point, the soul that was in her body was disconnected from control of the body, and it simply became inactive in a way. So, and there's a lot of questions about, is Penny actually dead for good? Like, is she definitively dead now?
I have a theory. I thought about it. I think when she was severed in half, if I was to put in a central processing unit, usually it would be either the brain in the head or in the upper chest. If it was in the upper chest or in the head, I think the actual energy source would be in her belly. And if she was separated in half at her belly, the connections to her central power to the processing unit would be cut off. So I think that she's actually intact, but also just powered down.
There's that possibility. I, on the other hand, again, have a difference of opinion. I do think Penny's definitively dead. Because of, well, after that death scene, we got to see a glimmer of who we can presume was Penny's creator. Her father, as it were. Now, because of what Ironwood revealed about their ability to move auras from one person to another, we hypothesized that Penny may have originally been a real girl, but she might have been in an incident where she was close to death or on her deathbed, and then her father, I'm thinking her biological father, is this Atlesian doctor who decides to save her by putting her in a robotic body. Now, the thing is, once you die, your soul should leave your body. So I think in this circumstance, Penny has died, or at least her soul recognizes that her host body is dead and decides to leave and go to the afterlife, or afterlife equivalent in Remnant. Sorry.
That's what I'm sort of going with. Like, even if she could be revived, I don't know if her soul would come back if she has a soul. I think she would come back.
The Penny unit could be restored.
The Penny unit could be restored, but I don't think Penny can be.
Yeah. And some people have said that they think the story might be better if Penny is in fact definitively dead. Mostly because we've gone to that point of the series where we're sort of really getting in touch with reality here and saying, well, anyone can in fact die. The world's not a puffy place where everyone goes through these extreme circumstances and survives. That being one example. So it just doesn't have quite as the same effect on us as the audience and the fans if she happened to be alive. I know a lot of us would prefer if Penny was still alive, but admittedly, I suppose from a writing perspective, it's better off this way. And things are gonna still go downhill from here because there's a lot worse to come. So anyway, after the death, we have one thing we could give kudos for is Dishwasher 1910, who actually put into art depiction 1 week before the episode of Penny dying at Pyrrha's hands, and it was actually pretty spot on. So kudos to Dishwasher 1910 for that, and Indigo Leader for sharing that around. We really loved that, and it was nice to know that some other people had the same idea as us, that Penny was for sure to die in this episode. Not happy for a prophecy or whatever, but claim what credit you can. And then afterwards, Cinder takes control of the broadcast and makes her speech. This is finally that whole virus thing coming into play, and her, using it to its full. And then she puts on this whole, fake speech, like, oh, the headmasters are just power greedy people.
Master of propaganda.
Yeah, that's right. For spreading false information and all that. Like, oh, all these crimes going on at the tournament, it's just, power plays between headmasters and all that. And it's really foreshadowing a war between the kingdoms, which is absolutely ridiculous. We know that Cinder doesn't genuinely believe in what she's saying, because as we know, she set up these events. And this is just all part of her plan to take down the kingdoms or the huntsmen, or specifically the huntsmen and huntresses, as some people have called her targeting these academies, because the huntsmen and huntresses do present a significant threat. And if Cinder is indeed working for Lord Grimm or the Cult of Grimm, there's no greater enemy to them than the huntsmen and huntresses, or the Brotherhood of the Maidens, or whatever else is involved there.
They're organized. They're the organized enemy.
Yeah. And it is inferred that the other headmasters are involved with the maidens as well, or at least aware of their existence. So it makes sense to target them. So after she makes her speech, leaves everyone in panic and fear, yada yada, you can't trust anyone now, yada yada.
Building the fear.
Are the CCT towers down now? Which I think we can both agree. We think they are. Yep. It makes more sense that the CCT towers are down, mostly because, one, Cinder has put this fear into people's minds. They might interpret the CCT being down as a sign that the government's trying to stop them from spreading the truth.
Or media blackout. So like this invasion.
Yeah. The Grimm invasion.
No, not just the Grimm invasion.
The White Fang.
No, the fake invasion that's going to happen. The fake war. Which also eliminates the fact that the Grimm are attacking. So huntsmen have allegiances really to no one, so they won't necessarily come to aid an attack on Vale by another nation. But if it was the Grimm, more huntsmen would come if they can get there in time. Potentially,
yeah. And without the CCT, Vale can't call for help.
Yep.
And the other kingdoms can't even communicate with each other to figure out what's going on, because of the whole thing about if one goes down, they all go down.
Yep.
So good things ahead for the kingdoms of Remnant.
I told you it was stupid.
It is stupid, and it's going to really cost humanity a great deal.
What did I say last week? It was plot.
Yeah, it is. Mistral. Also, Mistral was mentioned again twice now. We had it in episode 7 or 6, one of the two. I was during the flashback episode where Adam was talking about potentially going back to Mistral after you know, his initial conversation with Cinder, and Cinder returns, but just before she returns and attacks his camp, he says, well, I'm thinking about going back to Mistral. During Cinder's speech, he talks about how things are not much better in Mistral. Seems to infer that there's either perhaps a tyrannical government in Mistral, whether there's a lot of corruption, or maybe they have the biggest faunus population and thus the most White Fang activity. So maybe Mistral is just very chaotic for those reasons. But I do wonder, is it actually just inferring that maybe the next stop in Volume 4 will be Mistral? But we'll get to that a little more as we get through the rest of these events. So, warning level 9 for the Grimm.
Major Grimm invasion. Major, absolute major.
I love my reaction to that. What's a 10?
What is a 10?
Maybe Lord Grimm. Maybe the apocalyptic scene, like apocalyptic circumstance where there's like literally, it's like the unforeseen event. It's like the warning level that should have never been used, sort of thing. So warning level 9 sounds pretty bad.
Well, the thing is, like, if you use like earthquakes to scale, like a 9, a 10 is infinitely higher than a 9. Not just 10 times.
Yeah.
Because it's a scale. So a 9 is like really intense, but a 10, so much more.
So we haven't got to 10 yet, but maybe very soon.
Lord Grimm.
If he appears, maybe by the volume's end.
I think that's an apocalypse level when a god descends from the earth with wrath.
That might suit level 10. Also, Ironwood, don't panic, and then Nevermore.
Panic.
That's a lot of panic. Panicking. Yeah, that didn't quite work out for Ironwood. And we've got now Grimm flooding Vale. Like, things are really bad. Even Ozpin has lost his cool. That's never happened. And he's sending Crow and Glenda out to defend the city. But the real attack still seems to be at Beacon. Why? Because Beacon still has a lot of valuable things. And Ozpin must be staying behind to protect Amber.
Yeah.
And, you know, say calls Ironwood and goes, you brought your military to my kingdom, so use it. That sounded so badass.
Yeah.
But does this infer that maybe an fight with Ozpin that we've all been waiting for is coming up? Maybe because, as we saw during Cinder's speech, she's still at Beacon. So it might be finally a head-to-head between the main antagonist and Ozpin himself.
I believe she's at Vale, not Beacon.
No, could be. Regardless, she's nearby.
Yeah.
It seems to make more sense that she was at Beacon if she was after Amber. But who knows, she might be leading the battle in Vale or not. We'll have to wait and see. But Neo infiltrates the Legion Air Fleet. So we did call this a while back that part of Cinder's plan was to infiltrate the Legion Air Fleet. You could say that was not hard to predict. But we still said it and it still came true. So we're happy with that. And she released Roman, so we knew that was going to happen as well. There's no way Roman was going to stay in prison forever, and I still believe that Neo is closer connected to Roman than she is with Cinder. So I think that may have been part of the reason. And another thing, yes, they sabotaged the fleet by taking control of one ship and then firing on the other ships. So, because of the confusion, it's possible that Legion airships might actually start shooting at each other simply out of fear of what's going on and not knowing what's actually going on. So, that's a possibility. And Adam and the White Fang arrive at Beacon with Grimm soldiers in tow.
Living troops.
So, that seems to further isolate the connection between the White Fang and potentially this cult of Grimm. I'm rather doubtful. I still hold some doubt as to whether Cinder directly serves Lord Grimm, because part of this whole setup and plan she's made is so that she can raise anger and she raise fear and raise anxiety so that the Grimm creatures would attack. But if these Grimm creatures are subservient to Lord Grimm, why would they need to manipulate his creatures in order to get them to attack if they're serving his will? It just doesn't seem right. Because, you know, if Lord Grimm wanted to attack Vale, he could just attack Vale. So, I'm wondering whether Cinder's actually aligned with the cult of Grimm, a group of people who serve Grimm. Maybe they have their hands on relics that gives them power. They sometimes do things that earns Grimm's favor, but he never, like, communicates with them directly or something like that. maybe he's still a very dormant god, and they're just trying to bring him out. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they're arranging this, is because they're trying to get him to awaken from his slumber, or whatever you want to call it. But I'm not sure that she's in direct communication with him. And maybe I'm just trying to defend my original hypothesis that Cinder was not necessarily for Grimm, but maybe against him. Maybe that still holds some weight. I don't know, but I don't know. Things can still be interpreted in different directions. What else do we have? We have So since Adam is at Beacon, Blake's at the festival grounds, as we saw during the speech. So maybe finally a reunion.
Rematch.
Well, they didn't really fight the first time, but this is finally, I suppose, the fight that was long in the making. And maybe during this fight we'll learn a little more about what Blake was actually involved in while she was in the White Fang, because she does infer that she's done a lot of horrible things. So that might cause some doubt in Team RWBY, maybe fleetingly, because Team RWBY seems to stood up pretty well, stayed together pretty well even after what happened with Yang. So even if it turned out that Blake had done a lot of horrible stuff, they might still stick together, because, we're good mates now, sort of thing. But it'll be very interesting to see that fight. I know a lot of people have been in anticipation of the idea that Yang will fight Adam because, Blake's old mentor fighting Yang's partner sort of thing. And there's that whole shipping conflict going on there. Yeah, Bumblebee and all that. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. I think Team RWBY's going to get together for the fight to come in these next couple episodes. But we're going to have to wait a week or two to do that. So what else Oh, what's happening with Team Juniper now? With Pyrrha so unstable, what's she going to do? Like, is she going to try to run away from what's going on now? Like, is she going to give up on trying to become the Fall Maiden? Or is she still going to try to gain her powers just in time? Or is she going to die trying? Because anything could happen to Pyrrha right now. She could actually go through with trying to have the aura transfer, but it could kill her. We have no idea. So she might still die.
I think, and Sean was like, just the entire time, I think he was the only character that kept his eyes on Pyrrha, and Pyrrha only.
He was concerned throughout her entire fight.
Yeah.
Except Nora and Ren were, doing the typical team thing of,
go
Pyrrha, yeah, sort of thing. So Jean's probably going to do what he has last episode, and sort of come alongside her and go, we need to go fight. And Pyrrha's going to try to explain what the heck is really going on. Ozpin is probably going to try to find her and go, we need a decision now as to what you're doing, because we can't wait.
Yeah.
So that's probably coming up.
I thought of a possible storyline.
Oh?
Oh, yeah. So if she does, and Ozpin forces her to, gives her the choice, and she takes that, perhaps Adam or Cinder will actually be in the vault when the transfer is to start or finished.
Ooh, that'll be a very exciting fight.
Yeah, very exciting fight.
Because Pyrrha could be in the process of that transfer.
Ozpin has to defend it.
And has to defend it. That's going to be a really interesting fight. Especially if the transfer fails or it succeeds. There's going to be a lot of questions to be had. And, I bet you Roosterteeth is going to have Pyrrha fulfill the transfer. She's going to get the maiden powers and fight off Cinder and Adam. But we're not going to actually know whether it's actually still Pyrrha until next volume. I bet they're going to do that just to screw with us. Because you can't have the end of a volume without a massive cliffhanger.
And I think Lord Grimm would be too much of a cliffhanger if he just appears but doesn't actually do anything.
That's right. So, well, then again, if he does show up as a cliffhanger, that'll be one of the big conversation topics until next volume. Except we'll be pretty much
smitten,
and we'll be pretty much certain in our views on the matter. So, also with all this going on, will Winter Shani return? Will she bring out Legion reinforcements? Who knows? Maybe that's part of what's going to happen. And in a previous review, we pointed out that the armor set called M374, which refers to the Meta's armor from Red vs. Blue, a sort of Atlassian war invention that was in a database next to Penny, might show up in the next couple episodes. Maybe Ironwood will get it out and start kicking some ass in it. Or maybe Roman's already stolen it. We have no idea where he's keeping it or whatever. Or maybe it's not even in Vale. It could be just an Atlas.
I've a thought. I wonder if that was Ironwood's flagship. that was taken over.
It probably was, because that was the one Iron was on when he imprisoned Roman.
Yeah.
Hard to say. Maybe he doesn't even have a flagship per se, but
If it was the flagship, he would keep the
the artifact. Well, the suppose
device.
the invention on board. So Roman's gonna wreak some havoc, and he's not adverse to getting into some mecha suits.
Yeah.
So
Mecha's like dropping, like from Avatar, dropping out of the spaceship.
yeah, that's right.
With the big dove.
So there's gonna be a lot of big fights, and really, it's really hard to see where the volume's gonna end. But my call on the matter is, I think Vale's gonna fall by volume's end. I think Vale as a kingdom will probably cease to be, and that probably be why we have to go to Mistral next volume, is because a lot of the characters will flee to the nearest kingdom, which I think is the kingdom west of them, which is connected by land, so it might make sense that way. Or was that Vacuo? I think it was Vacuo, actually. Mistral's the one east of it.
If they do, this great train might come under attack by the Grimm.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of people might die in the transfer. But the other thing I'm wondering is, will Team RWBY actually be forced to split by volume's end? Because as we said in our previous review, we believe that Yang might actually leave the team to go pursue her mother because of her connection to what's going on. I think we also said in the previous volume that previous review that would be the best way to reveal Lord Grimm, is because if Raven is indeed aligned with the cult of Grimm and servant of Lord Grimm himself, that she might even be a higher-ranking person than Cinder in this hierarchy for that reason, because she's connected with Lord Grimm himself. That Crow and Yang go pursue her, and when they find her, they find Lord Grimm in her presence or something like that. She's reporting to Lord Grimm at the time, so they'll take Yang away from Team RWBY. If Winter Schnee returns, she might force Weiss to take Weiss home to keep her safe. Like, don't go to Mistral with your friends. We need you home where you're safe. You know, could be like the big sister moment. Like, I love you so much, I can't risk you dying.
Yeah.
And Blake, who knows? Maybe because we know how driven Blake is. If she's confronted by Adam again and hears the sort of things he's planning, she might be really driven to leave the team to go pursue and stop Adam from achieving what he's doing, and hopefully convince other Faunists that what he's telling them to do is the wrong thing. And then we have RWBY left over, sort of alone by volume's end,
forcing to face her destiny.
And we were going to cover this in our Red Trailer video, but we believe that the Red Trailer might actually depict the future event, which we think might happen by volume's end, where RWBY, as Vale falls, visits her mother's grave one last time before fleeing the country, sort of thing. It's sort of that last goodbye before, you know, the home they always knew ends.
Because it's autumn now and it was winter in the trailer.
That too.
It's a few months.
And we also were going to point out in the video that the concentration of Grimm on the Isle of Patch seems a lot bigger than it should be, as we know from Yang's story when she was talking about how she went to find what happened to her mother and took RWBY along with her. It was just after her mother died. Her father had shut down. You know, there was a lot of negative feelings swirling around in Yang, as she said that she walked for hours without incident. If the Isle of Patch has that concentration of Grimm, they should have been attacked. Unless that shows how long Crow's been following them on that track. But if Crow was following them, you'd thought that he'd stopped them a lot sooner and taken them home where they were safe. Unless our De Rosa theory still holds steam, or whether it's to do with the Maiden powers. Because of the Maiden powers, it's made the whole De Rosa part of our theory a lot more difficult, because there's no way to definitively prove whether it's about the Maiden powers or about the soul of De Rosa. So, I still hold hope. I still hold hope for the goddess theory. You know, maybe the Maiden thing is just a misdirection. Who knows? Only time will tell.
Could be great. It could be a grace or a curse.
Yeah.
Either or.
So,
or De Rosa.
Yeah. And yeah, I think the end of this volume will see a lot of our friends sort of split apart from each other. I think Team RWBY will break apart. I don't know about Team Juniper. I think their status will be left undefined by volume's end, mostly because we don't know what's happening with Pyrrha. Even without Pyrrha, I think Jean, Ren, and Nora will still stick together. But if Pyrrha disappears, they might go in search of her, depending what happens. So this is a whole new ball game now, and I suppose it'll take episode 10 to really help us get a grip on the direction it's going. But we've left our thoughts there for you. There's a lot of different directions it can take and a lot of exciting things to come. In some ways, I sort of hope some of the things we have predicted aren't true, because I like to think that some of them are more exciting than what we've imagined them to be. But then again, like what we said is also pretty cool to think about, especially if we, having thought about it now and then we see it happen. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And that's sort of why we were so overjoyed by watching the last chapter. So you might actually see more of our reactions in the future if this just keeps happening. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Do you have anything else?
No, that's all.
No? Well, exciting things. We also just want to shout out to Jake of the One Man Band again. We actually, as if you, those of you who've been following our videos have seen, we actually did have the idea for some time about the idea of there being agents of Lord Grimm, and we just want to thank Jake for actually making a video to give that some more information. We just haven't taken the time to do that sort of stuff ourselves, but thankfully Jake has helped give the whole theory some more life. You know, we put a lot into this theory, and it's good to see that some other theorists are also helping build it up. But if you haven't seen that, go check out Jake of the One Man Band. It's a video called Lord Grimm's Agents. And yeah, it's really good. It's really good. It helps give some clarity about some of the changes in our theory as this series has progressed, about whether some people are in fact working directly for him. And in my opinion, I'm not sure, I think in the past you've disagreed with me on this, I think Ozpin may have been a former agent of Grimm himself. Now, yeah, you don't particularly agree. I know I've based this on circumstantial evidence, based on the semblance video of World of Remnant, where it says that, well, it says that some semblances can make people, or some more than a man, or something like that, and it had a silhouette of Ozpin. And, like, there's a lot about Ozpin that's highly inferred, but we don't know what it means. Like, you can go back to that popular quote by him, which goes, you know, I've made more mistakes than any man, woman, or child in this world, sort of thing. And then we have that statement about him possibly being more than a man. I do wonder, you know, this is my crackpot theory about whether Ozpin was initially a human child who was brought up by Lord Grimm to be one of his great agents, which might be why he's so powerful. And it might also be one of the reasons why he understands the darkness so well, because he used to be part of it, or used to dwell in it, sort of thing. And now he's a different individual, now trying to protect humanity. It's hard to say. I really like to go into it more, but I'm not sure if we will. But we'll throw that thought out there. Is Ozpin a child of Grimm? Whether he's an actual creation of Grimm, of himself, or was he just a human taken by Grimm and raised by him? Or maybe he has no connection to Grimm at all. I know some people said that Ozpin was Lord Grimm, but I'm not sure about that.
Or the old man.
Or the old man. But I think most people haven't jumped on board with the old man thing, but I think a lot of people think that the old man may have been Lord Grimm, which has some validity. But the point is with fairy tales is that while in this case certain facts of the fairy tale are true, a lot of other ones may have been embellished or simply had the details changed. So there's no way of being sure. But I'm really eager to see if we learn more about Ozpin by volume's end, or whether we'll learn more by next volume. But until then, I am the narrator.
I'm the editor.
We are Finite Unlimited. We are not going anywhere, and please stick with us and help us keep this theory boat afloat. Until next time, guys.